Good morning students, this is 11th class biology chapter 7 biomolecules lecture number 1. We will start this chapter with the topic how to analyze chemical composition of a tissue, and after this we will study about a biomicromolecule, that is amino acid. So here in amino acid we will study about the structure of amino acid, types of amino acids and deuterionic form of amino acids. So first of all, we need to know what are biomolecules. So biomolecules are chemical compounds found in living organisms. So all the chemical compounds which are found in our body, in the body of any of living organism, in any animal or plant, are called biomolecules. They include organic and inorganic compounds. So both type of compounds are present in our body, organic compounds and inorganic compounds, and all these are biomolecules. So let's start with our first topic, that is analysis of chemical composition in a tissue. So to analyze the chemical composition of a tissue, first of all we'll take a living tissue. This living tissue can be a vegetable if we are taking a plant sample, or it can be a piece of liver if we are taking any animal sample. Okay, so now we will grind this living tissue in trichloroacetic acid. Here you can see this pestle mortar. So with the help of this pestle mortar, we will grind the living tissue in trichloroacetic acid and we will get a thick slurry. So a slurry like this will be obtained. Now this slurry will be strained. So strain this through a cheesecloth or cotton. So this is cheesecloth here. So with the help of cheesecloth or cotton cloth, we can strain it. And after straining, we will get two fractions. Like one will be retentate and one will be filtrate. Okay, filtrate that we will obtain here in the bowl, and the retentate which we will obtain here in the cheesecloth. Okay, that will be retentate, and here we will get filtrate. Okay, so these filtrate means the portion that we will get here in the bowl will be filtrate, and it will have it will be called acid soluble pool. Okay, and the portion that will be here in the cheesecloth will be called retentate, and it will be acid insoluble fraction or acid insoluble pool. Okay, so here we, after the straining, we are getting two fractions, acid insoluble pool and acid soluble pool. Acid soluble pool as filtrate and acid insoluble pool as retentate. So filtrate is acid soluble pool and it contains biomicromolecules. Biomicromolecules which are having molecular weight less than 1000 Dalton. And the retentate portion has acid insoluble fraction that contains biomacromolecules. Biomacromolecules having molecular weight greater than 1000 Dalton. So these are macromolecule, macro mean large, that's why their molecular weight is also greater than 1000 Dalton. And these are micromolecules, biomicromolecule, micro means small, that's why their molecular weight is less than 1000 Dalton. Okay, because these biomicromolecules are soluble in acid, in trichloroacetic acid. Okay, here by acid we mean trichloroacetic acid. So this portion is soluble in trichloroacetic acid, that's why we are getting it as filtrate, and this portion is not soluble in trichloroacetic acid, that's why we are getting it as retentate, right? So here we will get biomicromolecules and biomacromolecules as two separate parts. Okay, so we can say these biomolecules are of two types, biomicromolecules and biomacromolecules. Next is about analysis of inorganic compounds in a tissue. So for doing that, first of all we will take some living tissue and will weigh that living tissue, and that weight will be wet weight. Consider we are taking some leaves, fresh leaves from any plant. So at that time those leaves will have some moisture content also, and with that moisture those leaves weight will be called wet weight. Okay, so wet weight of a living tissue will be taken first, then it is dried. It is dried to evaporate the water, and when water will be evaporated, the weight will be taken, and that weight will be called dry weight. Okay, because water has been evaporated, and now the weight is called dry weight. So we will take wet weight as well as dry weight. After that, it is fully burnt to oxidize all carbon compounds to gaseous form. So when it is burnt, carbon compounds will be oxidized to the to gaseous form in the form of carbon dioxide and water vapors, and it forms ash. So ash like this will be formed, right? After burning, ash will be formed here. The ash contain inorganic elements. So this ash which we have obtained after burning of a living tissue, this ash when analyzed contain different inorganic elements, and these inorganic elements present in this ash are calcium, magnesium, potassium and sodium and potassium. Okay, all these inorganic elements are present in this ash, and inorganic compounds like SO4 2 negative, PO4 3 negative, NaCl, CaCO3, etc. So all these inorganic compounds are also present in this ash. Now this is the table for the comparison of elements in non-living and living matter. So all these elements are found in non-living as well as in living matter. Here we are taking Earth's crust as non-living matter which is present around us. Okay, so Earth's crust, so here this percentage weight of different elements is given which is present in Earth's crust, and this is the percentage weight of different elements in human body. So by the comparison we can compare the percentage weight of these elements in non-living and in living matter, right? So first of all, let's compare the hydrogen. So hydrogen is present in 0.14% weight of hydrogen is present in earth crust, while in human body it is present in 0.4% weight. Likewise, carbon is present in 0.03% weight in earth's crust, while in human body it is present in 18.5% weight. So it is much larger than it is present in earth's crust. Okay, so we can say in human body, in living matter, carbon is very important component. Okay, so carbon is present in much larger quantity than it is present in earth's crust. Oxygen is present, and you can compare here all these elements percent weight present in earth's crust and human body. Now I have already told you that biomolecules are of two types, biomicromolecules and biomacromolecules. Right, now first we will study about biomicromolecules, and after that we will study about biomacromolecules. So let's see what are biomicromolecules. As we know, we got two fractions when we try to analyze any living tissue, and those two fractions are acid soluble pool and acid insoluble pool, right? So here these biomicromolecules are found in acid soluble pool, right? So molecular weight of biomicromolecules, or we can say micromolecules. Okay, these biomicromolecules can be called micromolecules or simply biomolecules, and these are found in acid soluble pool, and their molecular weight ranges from 18 to 800 Dalton. Okay, means less than 1000 Dalton. The acid soluble pool represents the cytoplasmic composition. So their composition means what substances, what the molecules are present in it. which are present in cytoplasm of a cell. Okay, so this acid soluble pool which is present here represents the cytoplasmic composition, and it contains, so we can say, biomicromolecules, or the acid soluble pool contains these micromolecules, and these are amino acids, lipids, sugars and nitrogenous bases. Okay, so here first of all we will start with amino acids, then we will study about lipids, sugars and nitrogen bases. All these are biomicromolecules. Amino acids, first biomicromolecules, we can say they are the compounds formed of an amino group. Amino group is NH2, an acidic group, that is COOH, carboxyl group it is called. Okay, COOH is carboxyl group, and carboxyl group is an acid group. H, that is one hydrogen, and a variable group, that is R. Variable group means this is side chain and it can vary in different amino acids. So this is variable group. Any group can be present here, and it is simply represented by R. Okay, this R can represent CH3, COOH, simply H can be represented by it. So it will be a variable group, but all these other things are fixed. Okay, these are the fixed parts, you can say, which are present in an amino acid, right? That is amino group, NH2, that is a basic group, then an acidic group, that is carboxyl group, COOH, and hydrogen is present, and a variable group is present. Now NH2 and COOH means amino group and carboxyl group. These are attached to the same carbon atom, that is alpha carbon. So see here, this is the structure of an amino acid, and here you can see all these parts. This central carbon you can see here, this is alpha carbon. Okay, this is called alpha carbon. Now these groups which are attached with this alpha carbon, you can see here, first of all this NH2 group, this is called an amino group. Okay, this is a basic group attached with the alpha carbon. So this is N and these are H2. NH2 group is attached with alpha carbon. Then second thing, COOH group, that is carboxyl acid group, is attached with it. So you can see here COOH. This carboxyl group is present here, and you can see this H is present here, which is also attached with alpha carbon, and this is R, which is called variable side chain or variable group. Okay, so all these four groups are attached with one carbon, and this one carbon is called alpha carbon. So they are called alpha amino acids because all these groups in an amino acids are attached with this alpha carbon. That's why amino acids are also called alpha amino acids. They are substituted methanes also. Amino acids can also be called substituted methane, because you know what is the formula for methane? CH4. Okay, so if we write that formula like C and 4H are attached with the that alpha carbon. Okay, consider this is one C and all the four sides H is attached with it. What will be that? That will be methane. Okay, now those H have been substituted by amino group, by carboxyl group, or by any variable group, and it has become an amino acid. That's why amino acids are called substituted methane. That the groups which are present in methane have been substituted by some other groups, and their structure has become amino acid. Now these are the structures for some common amino acids. Like this is the structure of glycine, and here you can see this alpha carbon and NH2 group, amino group. This carboxyl group is present here, this H is present here, and this is variable group. So what is the only difference that will be found in the structure of all the amino acids will be the presence of these variable groups. Okay, the groups which are present here in these red boxes are variable groups. Okay, so you can see the difference of these variable groups only. remaining three groups will remain same. Like this carboxyl group is present in all, NH2 group is present in all, okay, and this H is present in all. The only difference is the presence of this variable group. Okay, so here in glycine this variable group is H, only H is present here, means R is equal to H here in glycine. In alanine, R is variable group is CH3. Okay, so here you can see this CH3 is present here as variable group. Here in serine, this is serine amino acid, and in serine variable group is CH2OH. So you can see CH2OH. Okay, so you need to learn these structures of these amino acids: glycine, alanine and serine. You just need to learn variable group. Like in glycine it is H, in alanine it is CH3, and in serine it is CH2OH, right? The remaining will be same. Now these are types of amino acids. So there are 20 types of amino acids which are used in protein synthesis, because our body need different proteins, okay, and for synthesizing those protein we need 20 types of amino acids. So basically these 20 amino acids are of three types. The major groups of amino acids, you can say the major three groups of amino acids are divided here, and these are acidic amino acids, basic amino acids and neutral amino acids. Acidic amino acids, in which there will be an extra acidic group, okay, like glutamic acid. Glutamic acid is an acidic amino acid. Then basic amino acid. Basic amino acids will have an extra amino group, basic group, that is amino group, okay. So the example is lysine. Here you can see in glutamic acid one extra carboxyl group is present, okay. One carboxyl group will be there in any amino acid, right? But if an extra carboxyl group is present here, that will be called acidic amino acid, right? So glutamic acid is an example of that. In lysine you can see here one extra basic group is present, like you can say amino group, one extra amino group you can see here. So this is basic amino acid, lysine. Then neutral amino acid, in which both acidic and basic groups will be present in same number, like it will be neutral, no positive or negative charge will be there. So it will be not acidic, neither acidic nor basic, okay. So it will be called neutral amino acid. An example of neutral amino acid is valine, and you can see this structure here, okay. Now in these you just need to learn the examples of all, okay. Like for acidic amino acid you need to learn glutamic acid is an example, okay. Like this you need to learn the examples of these. Next is amino acids can be classified as follows. So this is also a classification of amino acids based on their presence in a body, you can say. So these are of two types: essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. Essential amino acids cannot be synthesized by the body and should be supplied through the diet, okay. That's why these are called essential amino acid, because our body cannot synthesize these amino acids, and this should be supplied through diet. Examples of essential amino acids are lysine, leucine, isoleucine and tryptophan. And non-essential amino acids can be synthesized in our body. These can be synthesized by the body. That's why we don't need to take these amino acids from any outer source, means from any vegetable or from any other plant source, right? But essential amino acids we need to take through our diet, right? Now these are examples of non-essential amino acids. These are glycine, alanine, serine and arginine. So next topic is Zwitter ionic form of amino acid. A Zwitter ion is a molecule that has both positive and negative regions of charge. So here you can see in this amino acid both positive charged group, that is NH3 positive, and negative charged group, that is COO negative, is present here. right? So this is zwitter ionic form of amino acid, right? Now let's see how it is formed. In amino acids, amino group and carboxyl group have ionizable nature, means these can be separated in form of ions. So structure of amino acids changes in solutions of different pH, and you know pH is related with the acidity or basicity of any medium, any solution. Okay, so with the acidic or basic medium, structure of amino acid changes, right? We can say it changes at different pH. Here if both amino and carboxyl group are ionized, it is called Zwitter ion structure or Zwitter ion form of amino acid. So here you can see this Zwitter ion form of amino acid is possible in neutral solution, which is neither acidic nor basic. Okay, when the solution is acidic solution means less pH, okay, and more concentration of hydrogen ions, right? So if there is more concentration of hydrogen ions, obviously this group will obtain that hydrogen ion, okay, it will that hydrogen ion will attach with it, right? So this structure of amino acid will be there. With the carboxyl group there will be this H, okay, so COOH will be formed here in acidic medium, right? Acidic medium, or you can say at low pH where hydrogen ion concentration is more. So this is the condition in acidic medium. This is the structure of amino acid in acidic medium. And when there is basic medium or basic solution in which amino acid is present, okay, so in basic solution hydrogen ion concentration will be less, right? So in case of less hydrogen ion concentration, this NH3 here, this is NH3 positive, so one hydrogen ion is extra here, so it will be lost here, right? So it will be NH2 if the medium is basic, right? So this will be the structure of amino acid in basic medium. It will be NH2 here and this COO negative will be present here, right? So this structure is present in basic medium, and this structure of amino acid is possible in acidic medium, and here this is the structure of amino acid in neutral medium, and this is called Zwitter ionic form of amino acid because both negative and positive charges are present here, right? Based on today's topics, your homework is NCERT question number 1 and 11. Thank you.